Hey, it's Katie. I wanted to talk to you about my day yesterday. So I'm outside for the last little bit we have left of decent weather. So yesterday I was asked to teach a lesson in church, and I taught the lesson on fear. And I thought, okay, cool. I've got this. I don't live in a place of fear. I don't generally have a afraid personality. I don't let fear limit me. So I thought I had it in the bag. There was a lot of, I do want to say the lesson was kind of twofold. The question was, how often do we use fear as a motivator, both to ourselves and to others? And the first part is easy for me to answer to myself. But for others, it's not as easy. And I had to really take a hard look at how I am using fear in my life, because in my relationships, especially in my parenting, sometimes I am guilty of using fear. And I don't ever want my children to grow up insecure or afraid because of the choices that I've made and the way that I've treated them. Don't ever do that, or if you don't do that, I'm going to, or threaten, and even use my body language. And so I had to take a hard look at some of the ways that I motivate and control my children. And so I made some commitments to be more positive and uplifting and more patient, right? Because the truth is I want them to do things, or I don't want them to do things. And then that becomes my power. I exercise my power over them. So moving past that, and I talked about that in my lesson and how I needed to change. Well, and then we start talking about the other side of it, right? How do we let fear control our actions? How do we let fear dictate our choices? And there are legitimate fears out there. People are legitimate. Maybe they live somewhere not safe. Maybe they've had some past trauma. Maybe, they're afraid of what people think about what they have to offer, about whether they look fat, right? All these things. And it's not that those fears should be just brushed aside and I have no patience for them. No, of course, people have legitimate fears. And the question is, how do we move on? How do we set the fear aside and move forward so that we can make progress in our lives and we aren't bound by fear? So we started to have a really good discussion about those things. Things like, and the question is, to go further than how do we set it aside, is how do we access our own power? And how do we access the power of the Savior to help us move past those things? Because the bottom line is the love of Christ, or charity, or a relationship with the Savior is the antidote to fear. So how do we strengthen that? We had some really good suggestions. We talked about medication and counseling and not being ashamed of any of those things, but also, a better diet, moving right, moving more every day. We talked about positive affirmations, how instead of walking into a room being afraid of what people will think, to tell yourself, I have something to offer here. I am of value. I am smart. I look fantastic. And to literally mindfully tell yourself these things. And those are things I've been working on over the last year, to be more intentional about how I treat myself and how I look at life. And I hope to reap massive rewards because I am being more positive and not letting fear get the best of me. So we're talking about all those things, and legit, I'm standing in front of a group of probably 30 women. Many of them might be afraid to even do that, right? They would think, ugh, I can't do that. What are people going to think? Or I stumble over my words, or, I don't know enough. I can't teach other people. I'm not a scriptorian. All these things that hold us back, that we tell ourselves. Well, I'm literally standing there in front of all these people. I'm just gonna reenact it for you. In front of all these people, I take a step back. I'm wearing a pencil skirt and 5-inch heels, and my heel catches on the carpet. I'm down, like on my ass, down. So down, like foot caught behind me. I don't know if you can see that. Foot caught behind me, other foot up in the air, because I'm trying to balance myself. I'm trying to figure out how to get my feet underneath me just so I can stand back up. Nobody makes a move. I mean, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know if they're going to make it worse. Nobody makes a move. So I finally get my feet under me and stand back up. And I think I answered that question. Like, what's the worst that can happen? You're going to fall on your ass sometimes in front of a lot of people. Just get back up.